The fact is, what Donald Trump presents to America and to Americans is absolutely the worst, most abhorrent part of who America is. And the thing is that, because we have failed to educate this country on its founding, on its own genocidal, homicidal behaviors, throughout the course of history that have wiped out indigenous people, that have enslaved populations of people, that then, after that enslaving, pushed them into 100+ years of apartheid. And because we refuse to tell the truth, right, we have a Donald Trump. You see, when they say that if you do not learn your history, you will be destined to repeat it. We forever repeat history in the United States and are in the throes of that repetition of world history as it's playing out with Donald Trump cosplaying Hitler, is because we refuse to tell the truth about who America is. There are 30 to 40% of this country is wholeheartedly aligned with Donald Trump as they were wholeheartedly aligned with the Confederacy. Right? And because we did not tell the truth and we like to lie and spin the PR around America being the land of liberators and equity and justice, we are stuck in this place of, oh my God, how could 30 to 40% of the country think that it's okay to refer to other human beings as animals? Well, these are the descendants of the same people who walked past my ancestors as they were on an auction block while they went to go buy hats and carrying fresh flowers, while they watched women beaten and raped, and picnics that were referred to as picnics because that is where lynchings happened. And they got dressed in their Sunday best. So why are we in this place? Because we refuse to teach history. And the very same history that they are working to remove from our classrooms right now. Why? So that we can pretend that all of this shit is new. It is not. We're here because Donald Trump, much like in the way that he has been able to skirt the law, to not pay taxes, to not ever be found guilty of anything, has always been able to just utilize the weak spots, right? The shadows in our country that we refuse to look at and refuse to fix. And he's been able to benefit from them. That's why we're here.
The past reflects the present. It's all connected. And unless we confront it, the demon and evil of white supremacy that has infected and invaded all of our institutions, this is going to be a remake and it's going to be a reboot. And that actually takes me to the second thing that's been on my mind, Danielle. I don't know if you followed this controversy, and I think it's worth mentioning and talking about it. Jonathan Glazer is a director. He won for Zone of Interest at the Oscars for Best International Feature. And he was the only person who said something about what's happening in Gaza. And I want to read his quote, and I want to tell you all what's happening right now. He said this: all of our choices we made to reflect and confront us in the present. Excuse me. His movie, by the way, is about the Holocaust, but specifically what's happening in Auschwitz, the death camps. And right next to the death camps, the whole movie takes place in this idyllic garden and a home of the commander, of the person who's in charge of Auschwitz. You never get to see what's happening in Auschwitz, but you just hear it, Danielle, for the whole movie, right? And it's about complicity and dehumanization. And when he got the award, he said, it's not about the past, it's about the present. He says, the movie is not to say, look at what they did then, rather, quote, look at what we do now. Our film shows where dehumanization leads at its worst. It shaped all of our past and present. Right now, we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation, which has led to conflict for so many innocent people, whether the victims of October 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack on Gaza. All the victims of this dehumanization. How do we resist? As a result of that, which I thought was very humane and empathetic, he has now been blacklisted, boycotted. Yep. And as of yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, Danielle, it was kind of big news. Over 450 Jewish creatives and professionals denounced Jonathan Glazer in this kind of unhinged open letter where it was signed by a lot of powerful folks and a lot of like nobodies. And they said, quote, "We refute our Jewishness being hijacked for the purpose of drawing a moral equivalence between a Nazi regime that sought to exterminate a race of people and an Israeli nation that seeks to avert its own extermination." And then they put occupation in quotes. And like, I'm not even going to read the whole letter because it's really unhinged. And so what does it say about this moment where one artist speaks up about what is clearly happening? And essentially, as we've talked about on this program, so many people have spoken up are being blacklisted, silenced. And the rest of us are saying, yo, if they're doing to Jonathan Glazer, a Jewish man who made a movie about the Holocaust, what about the rest of us who speak out against complicity?
I mean, that's the point, right? The point is that, you know, I don't know how people feign oppression, in all honesty, when you have the ability to blacklist other individuals, when you have the ability to turn off water, cut off food, cut off life support, and then want to turn around and say that you are somehow the oppressed one. That's not how oppression works, right? It isn't. And that is not to denounce anything that has happened in history. It is to very much ground us in the fucking present. That if a man, a Jewish man who is doing a work of art about history and the Holocaust is now told to shut the hell up, right? Is now told that his experience does not matter and his thoughts don't matter, and to silence him, like, what are you doing? You know, like what to what extent?
Especially when he's being empathetic to all people.
But that's the point, is that they don't want empathy for all people, right? They want empathy for some people, right? And disdain for others. That's the goal here. And that's what makes me so disgusted. But then people want to say, well, why didn't more people in Hollywood speak out? Because they have homes and mortgages and, you know, and a livelihood that they're trying to protect. That's why, right? Because because unless the whole of them got together and got on the stage, right? You can't then think that you're going to take that stand and have no repercussions happen. Right? And so that's the problem here. And that's how you get entire genocides that take out millions of people, and they're like, and the world was silent. Because when the individuals try to pop up their head and say, wait, look, what about all humanity? Right? They're stripped of every bit of power and their microphone and their voice and everything, and made an example of.
And just the irony is that the whole movie, Danielle, I don't know if you've seen about it. I strongly recommend people see it. It's a very well made movie. It's very powerful. He says the movie's not about the past. It's about the present. It's about dehumanization. Is what happens to a people who allow dehumanization against another. It's a warning. It's about complicity. And you see this happening with the Republican Party, where people didn't speak up, and now you have a authoritarian, a completely vulgarian, bankrupt, violent individual, and our institutions, because they covet power, proximity to power and money, are still going with the flow, not learning from history, not learning what happened during fascism in Europe, not learning what happened during Hitler's Nazi Germany, where, the rich folks and the bureaucrats, they were just paving the road, Danielle. Hey, he's not going against us. Hey, think about the bottom line. And then what happened? And here we are, and artists aren't speaking up, Danielle. And I hope artists speak up, and there's a lot of folks, a lot of Jewish professionals who denounce this letter and are speaking up for him. But if people don't speak up, that in itself is complicity. That in itself is slow walking to your own demise. Because if they come after Glazer, they're going to come after you. If they come after Mike Pence, who was like the whitest, most conservative man on earth, what makes you think, oh, Republican, oh, conservative? They won't go after you. You have to be lockstep. And this is something that I believe in our show, we have tried our best to model, is that we will speak up. We could be wrong. You could disagree with us. That's fine. But we will speak up. And I felt compelled to talk about these two issues that were on top of mind because I feel like I'm living in the upside down, Danielle, but morally, I strongly feel I'm on the right side here, the right side of history.